Welcome back, everyone, to Into the Nexus, the podcast all about Heroes of the Storm. I'm Garrett Weinzierl, and sitting here with me is Mr. Kyle Ferguson. How you doing, Kyle?
I'm doing great. It's over, Garrett, so it's okay.
Sorry, what was that?
I'm back in rank 1, so it's going to be okay.
Oh, okay. I'm glad. I don't care anymore.
Yeah, I know.
Is it lonely up there in your tower?
It is.
It is lonely because you don't play with friends anymore.
The worst part is I'm up in the tower and everyone comes by the bottom of the tower and yells, "Hey, I could build a tower too if I wanted." Like, oh, well, do it! I'd love to see you up here.
I don't think I could. Actually, at this point, I have been beaten like a puppy so many times that I have no more trust. The trust has been broken, Kyle.
Have you seen Li-Ming?
I have not.
All right. Oh. Get buff, lift heavy things, pull yourself up, don't steal candlesticks, and you'll make it.
Oh, okay.
Because you're down in the quarries, you know, with everyone else has been subjugated down there by the government MMR. Yeah,
the difference is like everyone else in the quarries is like 9 deaths and, you know, not nearly as much damage that should be done by the end of the game. And I'm sitting there with like 25% of the deaths that everyone else has with significantly more damage and wondering, what else can I do? Like, guys, what else can I do? I know we lost the game and I'm going to lose just as many points as the rest of these yakkos. But clearly I know what I'm just anyway.
I feel like the drummer on one of those big old medieval barges just, you know, boom, 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 boom up front. And everyone else is like just, you know, toiling away in their little loincloths and, you know, their thin little hairy chests and just like, oh, you know, working those big old oars. But I'm like, boom, boom. I'm like, come on, guys. Like, let's do this. We can all do this. But then there's everyone else that's walking along and whipping you guys. I'm like, no, please don't whip them while they're down. It's okay. They can make it. No one's listening to the beat of the drum anymore.
I got nothing. You know what I got? You are very
right. I could be wrong,
but you could be wrong. You're very right about that, Kyle. That is an apt analogy. One I could actually follow too, which is rare for you.
It's a feat for me. Yeah,
absolutely. Anyways, Kyle, there's one other thing I wanted to lead in with the show before you brought that up and sent me down spiraling my personal problem hole.
You should get that looked at.
I should. I really should. Doctor just can't figure it out. So, sir, have you looked at hot dogs lately?
I have.
Did you realize that finally Rhaegar's ridiculous climb up the win rates has ended?
And he is 0.2 shorter than it was 24 hours ago.
Yeah.
He's fallen.
You didn't lead to my joke, sir. I was going to go, and he stopped climbing because he has hit 1. He is number 1 right now, with a 62.5% win rate and a 15.5% overall climb in the last 7 days. Mr. Rhaegar, with over 92,000 Hero League games logged in 7 days.
It's so ridiculous.
It's
oh my goodness,
absurd. I'm really glad he's back. But what is going on, Kyle?
I just have to wonder like what this game is like for people who don't follow the meta or listen to shows like this, watch Twitch streams, just kind of casually log in, log out, whatever.
Yeah, like I don't even know what word I would use. We don't have a term anymore for the. Back in the day, we just called them just gamers because we used to just play games. We used to read blogs about it. Back in my day, and now, yeah, I wonder too, Kyle, because if I was just playing this game, if this was just a game that I just liked, but I didn't follow anything outside of it, no existential stuff, nothing that's ancillary to the game itself, I would be so confused. Like, what? Green Wolf guy's back. Wait, what's going on? I haven't seen this guy in a game in months. What's happening?
Yeah, and imagine sitting there, too, on the opposite end, you know, and the other team grabs Rhaegar first, and you're sitting there, and everyone on your team's like, oh, GG, we lose. And you're like, why?
What's happening? Yeah.
Then the next pick is Li-Ming, and you're like, haven't the last 5 heroes been undertuned? What's going on?
Well, I mean, yeah. Honestly, I follow the game, and that's how I feel when it comes to Li-Ming. But I mean, that's something that you could say about really any game that has an overarching meta. if you don't follow the meta, you probably either you just don't notice and you just assume, oh, I guess you probably know, you probably do notice it. You're probably just like, oh, I guess Rhaegar's popular now.
Yeah. I mean, for me, like sometimes I stumble into it. Like Hearthstone is a game I play entirely casually. In my second GVG pack, I got a Dr. Boom and was like, that sounds neat, and put him in all my decks.
Then you listen to like one episode of any Hearthstone show and you're just like,
Right.
oh, apparently I'm an a-hole. This card is really strong.
I climb back into my hole with my Ragnaros and my Dr. Boom that I gained out of PAX as a free-to-play player. I'm like hissing at everyone who comes by, getting angry at me because they're spending money.
You're the golem that just happened to find the ring.
Exactly.
Everyone else, dropping all this money getting the best sword elves can forge.
And soon I will be falling into that pit of lava, clutching my old cards close to me.
Yes, you will. But, I mean, honestly, you'll be fine. You can still use them a wild. Ain't no problem there.
You were about to make a point.
That was really just my point, is if you don't follow any game's kind of overarching meta structure, this could happen to you. And then you went into an apt, again, analogy of Hearthstone, which you don't really follow that closely. So
I think the most fascinating part of this whole thing has just been the loss rates for all of the other heroes, particularly the supports. Just about every single one of them has fallen 5%. The ripple effects are fascinating to me.
Yeah. Now, before we jump into the news this week, because we do have a patch to talk about, because apparently we're just going to have a patch every week, which I'm down with. Very interesting. Not down with all the changes today, though. Spoiler alert. I take issue with multiple changes today.
I was trepidatious about yesterday going into it because I thought if they change Li-Ming, what kind of precedent are you setting? Are you saying that Blizzard is now someone who reacts in a week? And that's madness, right? Does that mean we have more control over them if we're nice and loud?
If they had made a Li-Ming change, spoiler alert, they didn't. I wouldn't have taken it that way. Because you were reading Dustin Brother's tweets, it sounded like it was raw data. Like they were alarmed by the raw data on their end. Because he kept referencing like it is being picked. In this case, we're talking about S of Johan, which apparently is just being picked obscenely high pick rate for a new hero. So I think they're concerned. I'm curious, honestly. I'm wondering if do you think, Kyle, that the fan base, the player base of Heroes of the Storm is now so seasoned and so trained to go to places like Hotslogs to look for builds that it might be coincidental that S of Johan is getting picked so much?
I think so.
Okay.
I think we definitely have that sort of ripple effect. And it is disabling, right? I mean, this heavy damage mage that has no right disrupting battle in that way has this ability. And more importantly to me, it's taking away any power that Wave of Force has to interrupt things, because I could just take S and then go with the Disintegrate.
Yeah, and not to mention, it combos so well with magic missiles.
It does, right. And people have figured out you send out both at the same time, so they both sort of hit the same area. Then you can take that Seeker, which we were all wondering in previous weeks, like, how am I ever supposed to actually land this thing? Well, you throw out the S first, and then follow it up with your magic missiles. I still would like to see, the hero get countered, but I completely agree what everyone's saying with there is no downside. We talked about, that high skill cap, and it's actually a skill floor, and not the skill cap that is the problem here. She is trading life for damage, but she's too safe at such a distance. So do you take her numbers down? Maybe. I personally would just like to see a decrease of the range of Arcane Orb, and then make those talents that increase Arcane Orb, like Triumvirate and all these sort of things, bring it back to where it was. Nothing was more sad to me this week than getting in lane, and I had an Asmodan with me against a Li-Ming, and guess which one was taking down the towers faster? And that just seems wrong.
Yeah, she's really good at sieging. Just because, like you said, her safety net of the obscene range on her abilities. And it's not like a tower is going to get out of the way of every magic missile you just sent at it. So...
Right, on the flip side of that, though, as the tank, when I roll into that lane, I stood in her face. And every time one of those orbs came down the line at my buildings, I stepped in front of them, took 200 damage, saved my tower 400 damage. I think that's a good trade for a 12-second cooldown.
Well, that's because you are a boss, sir.
And thank you.
Yes.
I wish I had another point to follow that up with. Thank you.
You're right. I am a badass. Is what you should have followed that up with.
That's a real nice tire you have. Thank you.
Anyway, yeah, no, those are some good points. I haven't really sat around thinking too much about how I would nerf Li-Ming. I've been too busy just trying to get her in the draft.
That's fair, right?
Yeah.
And that was my strategy going into Heroes League this week. Not only to take her away from the enemy team, but I considered myself a better Li-Ming than anyone on my team could be. And I didn't want a bad Li-Ming on my game.
I have had my head's been in the exact same place. A, I don't want to play against her, and B, I trust myself more than anyone else. So it's not an ego thing. It's just, I've gone to the Kyle school of solo queuing at this point, and
right.
It's just believe in yourself.
Yeah, that's how you make the magic happen, you know?
Anyways, before we get into news, I do want to talk about the Heroes Charity Brawl, which is I guess ongoing technically. Kind of every weekend there's some things going on, right? Or no?
For the charity brawl here?
Yeah.
Well, currently the worthy cause, this is all going to Make-A-Wish Foundation. We have the page up. You can go to heroescharitybrawl.com, and it's a GoFundMe page. You can help out this great cause, and it's all going to climax in a February 20th stream over on the Frog Pants Network.
Yeah. So if you're not following already, bookmark twitch.tv/frogpants_Scott. That's Scott Johnson's stream. For some bizarre reason, you hear this show and you are unaware of Frog Pants and Scott Johnson. That's where you want to go. So February 20th at 12 p.m. Mountain Time, 2 p.m. Eastern, since that's the time we usually give out here, we're going to be there. But not just us, Kyle. The Core, Scott Johnson show, will be there. Lords of the Storm and Stormcast. All 4 shows will be there. Just having, I believe, a 3-hour just super fun stream. We're going to be having a bunch of themed games, reverse draft, haunted speed mines, which you explained to me is you're not allowed to team fight unless you're in the mines. It's just PvE until mines pop.
Pretty much.
Yeah. And a bunch of other ridiculous ones. My favorite title is Sexy Picard, which is all random. All random. If you're not catching the joke, guys, it's because the random selection is a shirtless buff dude who's bald and he kind of looks like Patrick Stewart. A little bit. I'm not sure Patrick Stewart's ever been cut like that his whole life, but
I mean, he's done okay for himself, sure, but yeah.
He
always pretty small.
I'm not sure he's ever had like an 8-pack.
No. Never Thored up or anything like that.
Yeah.
That would have been fantastic.
Yeah, but anyway, like you said, it's all for a good cause. All donations are going to benefit the Make-A-Wish Foundation. So everyone come on over. February 20th, twitch.tv/frogpants_Scott for the Heroes Charity Brawl. I'm excited. This is going to be a blast.
It is, and it's just going to be a lot of fun games and a good time and a good cause. So give if you can, stop by if you can. I'm looking forward to it. And just to top it all off, it's so cool that despite, rumors mostly made up by, other people, but that podcasts can come together on a single cause like this, who all cover the same game and have a good time.
Yeah. But until then, run, boys.
We're on, boys! Ha ha! Let's liven up this place!
Point me to the stage.
Stay a while and listen.
I will. I want to remind everyone of our subreddit, itncast.reddit.com, where you can go to submit stories for us to talk about here on Into the Nexus. Upvote submissions, or just talk about what we discussed today. Today, obviously, the big news is the balance update that happened just yesterday, and we are, as usual, going to talk about it in buffs, nerfs, and there are no reworks, so just buffs and nerfs today is how we'll be talking about it, and other changes.
Yeah.
No one can see me doing quotations if you're listening audio only.
I heard the pause for the motion,
Oh, I'm glad.
What you need to do is go back and edit in like Power Rangers sound effects, like a little.
Oh.
Or what's that sound they always make when they jump in anime? Like, why? Who decided that?
I'm personally always really annoyed. This even happens in live action shows and movies. when someone just raises their gun and it makes some absurd noise.
As though the whole gun is like held together by loose screws.
Yes,
and just moving it around is like.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or like it makes the cocking noise, even though they're clearly not. They're literally just raising the gun.
Yep, that is not a shotgun. That is a handgun.
Right. That drives me nuts. But what is totally okay is the absurd sound effect of Indiana Jones punching anyone. I'm totally on board with that.
But that they squeeze it into Star Wars.
They did squeeze it into Star Wars. They did squeeze it. Did you know that also the Rathtars, they edited in the sound of the boulder from Raiders rolling when they were rolling?
Oh, well, that's fabulous.
Yeah, wonderful.
Those guys were great. I wish they were Muppets, but they were great.
I did enjoy those quite a bit. It was the most J.J. Abrams thing in that whole movie, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, we're going to talk about buffs in the balance update. Falstad is first on the list with his boomerang talent for hammering, getting a damage increase, a significant damage increase. It has been increased from 121 to 150. Scaling stayed the same, but now if you take boomerang, you're going to be able to increase that base damage of hammering significantly more than you did before. And also, more important is Hinterland Blast. It got a base damage increase going up from 411 to 475. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe I'm crazy. Didn't this get a damage decrease last time they messed with this?
Right. They increased the cooldown and increased the damage there. They're now doing that yet again.
Oh, okay. So they increased the cooldown. So last time Hinterland's Blast got nerfed?
It got buffed just the way that Sindragosa got buffed, which is kind of a nerf.
Gotcha. So damage got increased, but it's on such an obscenely longer cooldown that it's ridiculous.
Right. And this is where the theory of Team 1 is lost on me a little bit. I'm not sure what their goal is here. And this kind of covers our entire conversation today, looking at these patches, at least where my brain is right now. In game right now, Li-Ming can be beat, Rhaegar can be beat. One of the real powerhouses of Li-Ming is that you get into lane, you start attacking those towers across your lane, and you get an early XP lead. And because your power is so large, a 4% increase by a level lead is huge for you, and you maintain that level lead throughout the entire game. I don't know if this has been part of your experience, Garrett, but for me, games right now are 100% decided by level lead. Can be helped out by crazy clutch play. Oh my God, that guy's cool. But level leads are just atrocious. They're brutal right now in this game.
I'm right there with you.
So maybe we're not, as a community, as players, adapting to this very well. The previous almost scaling change, but even after the scaling change, our meta was so stale that we just sort of kept doing what we were doing and nothing really changed. We understood what heroes were very powerful, but there was a selection of them. Everyone got one, basically. Now, did people choose to get an overpowered hero? No, they might, pick Sylvanas or something because they're used to her. No diss on Sylvanas, but her win rate's really low. There was enough OP heroes to go around. Now that we're down to just a couple, things seem really polarized and brutal. And I think ever since the scaling change, we've just been stuck in this XP madhouse. And there's very little ways to break through because our previous way of dealing with getting behind was to group up and for everyone to just sort of ball up and move around. We're going to be a better team fighter than the enemy team. But with the damage numbers where they currently are, that doesn't help. And we need to, once again, learn to spread out, soak, play super duper stupid safe, and regain the XP lead that we lost.
I have been wearing out my S, O, A, and K buttons on my keyboard because when things go bad, that is the first thing that I spam into chat room and begin doing, regardless of what other harebrained schemes the rest of the team have, for this very reason. Being behind right now feels incredibly punishing.
Right, and we don't know how to react to it as a community. You and I have our ideas, right? They come from soaking. We understand XP leads probably because we also were in other MOBAs. There wasn't those heroes that we talk about from other MOBAs, those amazing assassins that have all the items and all the money, and they just come through and they wipe out an entire team, and the other 4 dudes are just helping them to do that. Yeah, they're well supported. But also they have an XP lead, and it's easy to forget that. And when everyone has the same XP, there is no hero character that can come and turn things around.
Right now, my hope, my goal is, Kyle, when that happens, is that I got Li-Ming so I can safely snipe a tower or two and get us a big chunk of XP. But because they did one of the things I've been asking for forever, which is increasing the damage output of towers. When you're behind, it's much. That was always one of my go-to things. Go snipe a tower or two to help you trying to catch back up. And right now, for me, it seems like you don't have Li-Ming. It's pretty damn hard to sneak a tower.
Exactly, and that for me has us looking at the specialists, going, "What are these guys' role right now in this game?" When a mage can come along and blow up the entire lane even quicker, or Butcher can slam it, take it all out with a nice talent pick. Let's relate this back to Falstad here. So in that sort of environment, we are now adding in longer cooldown ultimates that have bigger impacts on the play. In a esports setting where the players understand that they need to, they lost their level lead, they're going to spread out, they're going to soak, they're going to start playing safer, and this big old hinterland blast is going to come through and regain them out of that bad team fight, out of the level deficit, get a couple kills, and the game is going to go on to a beautiful finish. That's cool for them. For us, in a more solo queue environment at home, that's a really scary department to be in, because to me, you're just adding more burst to the game, which is going to make level leads more brutal, which is going to make these engages we get in faster and perhaps less fun.
Yeah, we're getting even more burst on Jaina.
Which is fine. I mean, that's cool by me. If you're jumping ahead, let's go ahead and talk about Jaina here.
Yeah,
too,
let's do it, because you just talked about more burst, and that's exactly what's happening here with Jaina, because her basic attack damage is being completely neutered. I don't know what other word to use to describe what is happening. It is going down from 89 to 60 on Jaina's basic attack. Jaina, the one with the really fast auto attack that you go, oh my god, I can't believe she attacks so fast. That hero is getting a basic attack decrease. But Frostbolt is going up from 160 to 190, and Cone of Cold is going up from 189 to 200. A little more incremental there, but Frostbolt getting a pretty sizable damage increase.
Which is great for that spell. I really like this change. I think that is a good way to differentiate the mages, the burst assassins, further from our regular auto-attacky assassins. All spellcasters should auto-attack. With Li-Ming, it's kind of hard because you're at such a ridiculous range anyway. You have to walk into so much trouble to get out a tiny, tiny little bolt off your little staff. Jaina, however, has much longer cooldowns between her spells. She was doing more and more auto-attacks, and I like the fact that they've decided to invest in her spells and make her auto-attacks tiny. I still want everybody doing it, though, please. Please, when you're on cooldown, auto-attack.
Keep auto-attacking. Don't stop.
It's so important.
Slightly less important now, but still important. Yeah.
Right.
So we're also going to see this with Kael'thas when we get to him in a second, but we're talking about Kael'thas under the nerf section, as should be no surprise to anyone. But finally, before we move out of buffs, we need to talk about Nova's changes. She got a damage increase on Snipe, went from 268 to 295, and the Snipe Master talent got a damage bonus increase. It used to be 5%. It is now 12% per stack. It got a maximum stack bonus increase, and it had maximum stacks decreased, however, by half.
Poor Nova, down 11%. The lowest win rate hero now, 39%.
Yeah, really took a dive. So my anecdotes last week of, well, it was working pretty well in my games, apparently just completely not useful information whatsoever.
And I'm a special snowflake here. I bought Nova this week. I really like her. I think she's awesome. I love the flavor now. And I don't feel like an ass being out there killing people. I feel like when I engage, it's fair, it's just. I deliver my damage, I sneak away. It's a little more squirrely than it used to be, just boop, boop, and then you're dead, and then it's over. Plus, I was using her as a Li-Ming counter, because that decoy absorbs the incoming orbs. So I was playing this crazy support Nova and getting the increased range and dropping it in between people. And people were like, oh my God, Nova, you're so... it was really cool. People they'd never seen a Nova that cared about anyone else in the world. And they thought I was just the best thing since sliced bread.
Kyle's not bragging about himself, guys. He's just telling us an awesome story that also happens to sound like bragging.
Right. I like that. I'll put that on a quote on my website.
No, this is the thing I love about you and Heroes of the Storm more than anything is you give. I wish we could say the F word. You give 0 Fs about how things are supposed to be. Like you learn, you more than anyone I know that I play Heroes with regularly. You're on top of the meta. You know what you should be doing. You know all the rules, but you break them so frequently on purpose.
Well, and that's just sort of my style of play. I recognize that myself. I am always better at video games when things change and everyone else struggles to adapt. I will never beat those guys that play Nova every single day, every time they log in 8 hours a day. And not because they have 8 hours or anything like that. It's just some people are textbook amazing. And they're real frustrating people to argue with, to have a conversation with, because all they see is facts. And you can't give opinions because all they see is facts. And changing their mind is one of the bigger feats you could ever perform in your life.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying Nova.
Yeah,
you could just enjoy her more now because now she's more lethal than she was.
She is.
When she was made less lethal from before when she was incredibly lethal.
I still don't think I'll be taking Snipe Master. This is up against one in the chamber and anti-armor shells. I prefer one in the chamber for myself, but it's a risk. And if you were an amazing Nova and you had all the support in the world with plenty of stuns on your team, this could see some sort of professional play. And that's pretty exciting.
Bring it on. Shall we move on the nerfs?
Let's do it.
All right, Kael'thas is up front, center.
And boy, has this been a long time coming, and we get to see what they had in store.
Yeah. Though, man, some of it is tough. Okay, basic attack damage, neutered. 87 to 65. So, slightly above Jaina in terms of the damage he's outputting. Arcane Barrier. Auto-pick talent for many of us Kael'thas's. The shield amount has been decreased from 200 to 150%. Also, the duration has been reduced by 2 seconds. It's only going to be on you for 4 seconds now. And it doesn't keep you alive nearly as well. Now, this I'm pretty okay with this change, because I don't know about you, but the amount of times that I have popped Arcane Barrier, it so seldom seems that the entire amount of the barrier gets chewed through.
Right. It's huge. It lasts a very long time, meaning that it could be used very poorly and still succeed. Yeah. I like the duration change. The shield is kind of scary.
Yeah, I'm laughing at Laura Lania in the chat room who said, it's not like he was voted most impactful hero 2005 or 2015. Oh, wait. So,
now, we've been hearing about this for such a long time, too. And all these sort of things you're going through right now, it just puts in my head, I'm like, cool. Like, I remember Jaina. Yeah, like, all right, cool. Arcane Barrier. Sure. A basic attack. Yeah, all right, cool. What you got for me? What's Kael'thas getting in return?
Not a whole lot. Gravity Lapse getting reduced.
Stun reduced by half a second.
By half a second.
Okay, sure. It's going to be a little harder for me to do my combo. I go out, I Living Bomb, auto attack, Gravity Lapse, auto attack,
but
Flame Strike, auto attack, and do my they die, right? They still know they're up in the air for half a second shorter, and and 20 less damage per auto attack. So, okay,
yeah. How are we doing the combo now? Because as it was like if you timed it really well, you could nail him with that Flame Strike. But now, like, are we precasting Flame Strike and then Gravity Lap? Like,
you just don't get the auto attacks in between right now. You can still pull it off, but it's a lot faster.
Okay, all right, cool. But okay, all right. With what you were just talking about in mind, your Kael'thas right now. Like, okay, my basic attack is down, my Arcane Barrier is down. Okay, my stun has been cut down by half a second. It's okay. I still have Phoenix, right? Right? No. Phoenix's cooldown is being increased from 40 to 60 seconds. But nothing else, mercifully.
All right, yeah, I think the best comment I saw in response to this was like, okay, so I won't use it to take mercenary camps anymore. That's fair, Blizzard. All right, what you got for me?
Fair enough. Pyroblast, the first buff at first glance that we see on Kael'thas. You're sitting there as a Kael'thas fan going, oh, damages have been increased by 730 to 810. Oh, that's really nice. What a wonderful change. Oh, but the cooldown has been doubled. 50 to 100 seconds. on Pyroblast.
So you got to wonder, like, how does this make games more exciting to watch? And that's the tough part, because we are now at the cooldown of a mosh pit. And when you compare everything to mosh pit, things look pretty bad. It's an amazing spell for sure.
Yes, it is a hard, it ruins the curve for everyone else. Everyone else just got a D, and then one person got an A, and you're like, oh, come on!
Right, it makes me pine for the days when we will eventually have ability draft, which is a really cool setting in Dota, where you pick a hero, and then you draft your Q, and you draft your W, and you draft your E, and down the line like that.
Yeah.
It's a very fun game mode.
Yeah.
But, so Kael'thas with Mosh Pit, maybe someday. Not today.
So how do you feel about this, man? Because I don't like this trend. I wasn't happy with the ridiculous increase on cooldowns on ultimates in the last patch on people like Falstad and Arthas. I feel like the mark is being missed there, and I feel like the mark is being missed here.
Right, and the real problem with Pyroblast is just that it's too avoidable. Zeratul blinks, Li-Ming blinks, all the other things that can happen in between getting interrupted. Mm-hmm. There's just a lot that can go wrong. These do come out massive. They are 5% per level increases. So in the late game, the Pyroblasts are destroying folks. There's some cool talents too, like your level 20 that has now been increased up to a 25-second reduction per hero hit. So you're guaranteed to, get a 75-second cooldown. If you hit 2 people with the area effect it has, you're at 50. So, maybe not so bad, but level 20 is a long way away to make your level 10 good.
Is there any credence to the weird place my brain goes with this? And now I feel like I'm being trained to have this thought, because since there is such frequent balance updates, and clearly one of the things that they're trying to get into here is talent diversity, right? We're seeing this increase in damage on Pyroblast, hopefully to make it more enticing. I'd almost like to see, like, give it to us with 1 week. And I know there's esports going on. That's a much bigger topic. But part of me would like to see Pyroblast with this damage increase, but leave the cooldown alone, just to get people taking it more often, and then maybe next week rein it in.
I agree. I think there are plenty of awesome talents throughout this entire game that have a stigma around them. And we just see images, and you hit that tab, and you see a build, and all the pictures are wrong across Raynor, and you go, whoa, oh, what happened here? And you're like, well, this is actually a really creative, counter to what I'm experiencing by the enemy team. Mm-hmm. But on paper, it's really bad. And, we had the census, the big Heroes of the Storm census come out. It was run by a guy on Reddit. He mostly surveyed Reddit and the BattleNet forums. But over 50% of people, this is their very first MOBA. And again, over 50% of people came to this game from World of Warcraft, where things are a little more cut and dry, perhaps. You have some interesting flavor picks, sure, that they've allowed glyphs and other things to sort of take up the mantle of, but there is a right way to play.
Oh, absolutely.
And maybe that community is fostering this in Heroes of the Storm, rather than maybe a more MOBA-centric community that would go, well, items can be a choice. I've had enough experience in games to know that I don't always want X item, so therefore I won't always take X talent.
Yeah. Also, we didn't mention the presence of mind talent. The cooldown reduction for Pyroblast has been increased from 10 to 25 seconds per enemy hero hit. So keep that in mind as well if you're going Pyroblast.
So right, Pyroblast, cool spell. Some cool opportunities to use it. I enjoyed it against the Illidan days because he'd be flipping over my face and I don't have to aim anything or click on him. And he has no interrupt, so I just keep on cast this big old fireball right for his face as he does front flips in my, general direction.
Yeah. Do you find it strange that Living Bomb wasn't touched at all in any way, shape, or form?
I like that it wasn't. I think we are all very well trained to avoid it. I think that is the understanding of the hero that you need to bring into the game. Just like Li-Ming. If I'm this tank, I'm going to stand in the way of the orb. That's why I don't want to see any of her damage really messed with. Range is kind of where I'm putting all my cards on that one.
I'm with you there. I'm glad to hear that, by the way, because that's kind of where my head is at. I was really happy not to see Living Bomb tinkered with any further because it's been a while, but it has already been tinkered with. It used to spread indefinitely.
Well, and it's at such a great place because it's a choice. If you're playing correctly, it's a choice. You send out your first living bomb, you can choose. I choose to put on 2 different targets and get a widespread. I can put on 1 target, be patient, wait my turn, and then give out the next one and do lots of damage to a single target. Or, hey, the tank's in the middle of everybody, or the building's in the middle of everybody. Use it on buildings. And you can instantly 1-2 to get that chain bomb out quickly, spread it across everyone. It's a great dynamic spell, and everyone knows generally what you should be doing to counter it.
Yep. And it's what makes him. It's so unique to Kael'thas. There's nothing else in the game that feels like it, and I like that. And I want Kael'thas still to be picked.
Right. They need to do something about that Thrall Earthbreaker skin that puts little flames over your head.
It drives me nuts.
Can be a little frightening.
It's not even over your head. It's like at your core, just like the living bomb animation is. Now, granted, it's slightly smaller and it is more stylized, but
and it's not making the noise, which is important.
But please, guys, please do something. Make it look like fiery lightning or something. I don't know.
Or blue, or just change it.
It drives me nuts. I'm like, I will in Hero League with Kael'thas on our team. I will run away from people if there's a Thrall on the opposing team. Because it's in my brain. It's autopilot. I see that effect. I stay away from everyone I can. So I'm really happy that you feel that way, Kyle. Thrall got a basic attack damage reduction, 173 to 165, pretty minor. But the Sundering also got a cooldown increase from 70 to 80 seconds. So not nearly as dramatic as some of the cooldowns on the other heroes that have been happening.
Yeah, he also didn't get a damage buff or anything else like that. Sundering has always been in a good place, I feel. It takes plenty of skill to use correctly, and the damage isn't exactly why you want to cast it in the first place. So, good, fine. He has continued to go up. Continued to go up.
There you go.
I Englished.
You Englished good.
Real good.
I spelled that G-U-D, by the way, for the folks that didn't notice. I'm still working on my Thrall. I think I'm back in love with Thrall again.
He's a good hero.
He is. Have some rough games against Li-Ming.
And he combos well with the current Rhaegar business going down.
Yeah.
And Morales and
right. Rhaegar, Ghost Wolf trait, the basic attack damage bonus has been reduced from 100% to 75%. And Lightning Shield had its damage reduced from 36 to 30.
Not the change I expected.
What change did you expect?
I expect something more along the lines of affecting his healing, and we were going to go down a Tyrande road. But you mean, do you mean like the opposite Tyrande? Because Tyrande had incredibly weak healing and it was brought up. Are you thinking they're going to nerf Rhaegar's healing at some point? No, I guess that is kind of a confused. The more of the overall philosophy of Tyrande that we are trading healing for that bit of extra damage. It's like picking a bruiser instead of a main tank. Yes, Artanis is going to have a really rough time out there, but he's going to do more damage than Diablo will, and hopefully that'll give us the lead.
Gotcha.
So we are going to pick Rhaegar because we have double tank or we have some sort of other sustain going on. Maybe someone takes, one of those oddball heroes takes like a healing totem or something, and we are going to make up for it with this crazy damage he brings to the table. Now, when we look at this seriously, that's the talent to fix right now, is his damage and his lightning shield. His lightning shield, just at its base rate, is a bad spell. It's kind of like Diablo's Flame Stomp. The whole reason Diablos put all their points into those Flame Stomp abilities is because the skill is bad and we need to make it good. Everything else is already good. With Rhaegar, Chain Heal, nothing wrong with it. It's great. Earthbind Totem, I love it. It's way better, in my opinion, than something like Malfurion's Roots. And that just leaves us with this really oddball Chain Lightning spell that's not a support spell, but we can turn it into one if we put all of our points into it.
You mean Lightning Shield?
Yes, what'd I say?
Chain Lightning.
Ah.
And I was like, well, I had to make the leap in my head. And I'm like, no, he just meant Lightning Shield.
Some sort of orc shaman confusion.
I'm going to defend you and say that they have come out and said that at one point Rhaegar had a kit that was very similar to Thrall's.
Fine. Yes, 2 years ago, Kyle was rightfully confused. I didn't say Rhaegar or Rexar, though, so I'm doing okay today.
I I'm proud of you because I make that mistake all the time. And you meant, speaking of Fire Stomp, Diablo had a change to Fire Stomp, but specifically the Fire Devil talent that augments Fire Stomp. So Fire Devil has had the damage reduced from 23 to 17.
Which is tiny, but this is that talent that gives a field of fire, a sort of immolation ability around you at level 4, and everybody takes it, cleans up creep. It does exactly what you want to be doing, which is being loud and proud out there, picking up people over your heads, pushing them. You're so sticky as Diablo that having any sort of immolation is always happening. It's not like some of the other tanks where, maybe even like Skeleton King, who can take a much later immolation, but his swing is so large, he's easy to get away from.
Yeah.
You're always in this fire against Diablo. And, I like that this buff sort of mirrors what we're doing with the Lightning Shield, because Diablo is the pick to put with Rhaegar right now because of the way that Lightning Shield talent works. You get 15% shield based on health at level 13. So you want the biggest health target you can. Diablo's been the target. Shield's running around him. He's on fire by himself. It was a bit much.
He did drop a little bit this week, by the way. Do you attribute that to this change?
I do. He was already on his way down a little bit. I feel like the way I chose to counter Rhaegar this week was to say that, well, there's two things, really. So, going back to his talents here, you have a level 13 talent that turns that lightning shield into an actual shield for 15% of their health. Then at level 16, and here's the one that I really kind of have a problem with, it's the Rising Storm. Every time the shield does damage, it increases the damage of it by 20%, stacking up to 10 times. Holy crap. 200% lightning damage. Then you take a level 1 talent, that increases the range of it, and you're basically hitting everyone here. So I wanted Rhaegar to stay off of me, not touch me, because the lightning shield would be on me. And I needed a giant killer to burn through the shield that was going to be put on one of the tanks anyway that had the most health. So I think we just sort of ended up back on Giant Killer to counter Rhaegar and thereby counter Diablo.
Gotcha. Sounds good. Thank you for taking me down that hole. Chat room.
Yeah, I know there's a couple turns there, so I'm glad you followed.
Chat room saying that I had it reversed, that at one point Thrall had Rhaegar's kit, not Rhaegar had Thrall's kit. Which I find strange. I don't see Thrall turning into a wolf.
No, I don't either.
But maybe it was everything but the wolf. Maybe it was like chain heal, shield, totem.
So I've always been kind of disturbed by Rhaegar's hat, I mean, it's the wolf that he killed, right, in one of his bloodlust rages. His wolf.
I don't know the lore behind Rhaegar.
Well, according to the little cartoon they put out, and I love cartoons, he killed the wolf. He got into like a bloodlusty orc rage, and he killed his main wolf. That was his buddy as part of the Dire Wolf clan, whatever they're called. Frostwolves.
Frostwolves,
and,
yes.
And he was like, no, I'll never rage again. I don't know why he has bloodlust, but sure. Yeah, I'll never rage again. And he put the wolf on his head. So does he turn into the wolf? Or does it become him? Does the hat give him the power?
All I know now is that apparently when Bailey, my beloved Chihuahua, passes away, I'm going to have to start wearing him around on my head.
Only if you kill him. In rage. It can't be like a backed up wheelie chair or anything like that.
You broke me. I hate you. You're a terrible person.
You're welcome.
Now, if that actually happens, I'm going to blame you.
Right. Well, that's what they always say when you get ferrets is, be careful about that stuff.
I'm also going to have to live with you for a while because Katie will just be inconsolable.
Oh.
Actually,
I'm not dooming you guys. No.
Actually,
don't tell her that.
If I kill the dog, I'm pretty sure I'm dead. If I kill the dog, I don't think there's a next day for me. I will not see another sunrise.
Fair enough. Well, he was there first, right? I mean,
yeah.
You left, and Bailey took your place.
Yeah. Anyway, getting out of buffs, getting out of nerfs. Let's talk about a couple of the other changes that happened with the balance update. Just so you know, if you have Lunar Jaina, everyone, her legs will now no longer separate from her body on the endgame score screens. This makes me really mad that I didn't buy the skin sooner.
I know, right?
I love those kinds of bugs.
It's a very cool skin. I'd like to own it outside of a bundle.
Yeah, I like the skin too. Apparently, dying was causing players' healing well cooldown to reset. That's been fixed. That's no longer
Every
happening.
time. We never noticed this.
Really?
Really, 100%. The only people who knew about this was Murky players because they died enough to notice. And then they would get out of their egg, grab their well, and run to the fight. That's why early game Murkies seem to be regenerating health while they cast their bubble, even though they weren't level 16 yet. Because you ever ran into that?
They just always had a well heal going on them.
And when it failed, they may choose to get themselves killed to reset that and become once again a tanky little Murky for a couple seconds. So every single hero has now lost this ability. I never noticed.
You just blew my mind.
Yeah, well, now it's gone. So one of the things we didn't know about, but was actually kind of a comeback mechanic, has disappeared from the game.
Hey, everyone. I'm pretty sure Kyle noticed when he played Kerrigan that one game. Oh, boom.
Oh, snap. Yeah, I probably died enough.
Oh, look, it's ready again.
It's always ready. I must be great.
Also,
Kerrigan is not graced Heroes League again.
Yeah. We didn't really talk about it, but before we leave this, there are some pro players that are pretty miffed that this balance update went live in the middle of the third North American Spring Qualifier. The first regionals are coming up on the 27th, so everyone's in there qualifying right now, and I wouldn't be super stoked about that either. Now, granted, we have been getting one basically every week, so it's kind of to be expected at this point. But these Kael'thas changes, I feel like, I don't know, they're impactful enough that I think the complaint might be warranted.
And that's where we need to put this energy. I don't think any of these other changes are game-breaking, but for the last year, there has been Kael'thas mains, and Kael'thas is in just about every game banned or taken in. And those players now have to find something else or make the extremely difficult task of adjusting themselves to a half-second shorter stun to be prepared to go into the championships in the qualifiers. And that's tough.
It is tough. Now, there's always the other side of that argument, which is, well, it affects everyone equally. May the best team win, but I feel for him. That's tough. And the only reason I'm bringing it up is because of the Kael'thas change. It is a pretty sizable change for one of these, small Wednesday balance tweaks.
Right, and Arthas wasn't as big of a deal or any of those other Wednesday changes because Arthas isn't being used as much right now. And we've had all these tiny little adjustments, and they've seemed to be pushing the game in the right direction. But to have Kael'thas come out on one of these Wednesday things really just throws us all for the loop. Now Wednesdays are super important. It's one of the reasons why, my schedule for my shows is changing. Used to do it on Tuesdays. Now the solo queue show is going to be on Wednesdays because that's a really big change happening each week.
Had nothing to do with the Angry Chicken switching days and totally forgetting about your schedule.
No, dude, you guys were 3 guys. I'm 1 guy. I can adjust.
Totally forgot. That happened, guys. There was that awkward comment. Dude, what's going on? I'm sorry. I forgot. Shows I'm not on don't exist.
Not to worry, man. I'm happy for you guys. Honestly, take that spot because you guys a number of times have gotten stuck with the short end of the stick on a Monday night. News on Tuesday.
Yep. Feels bad.
Nothing else for your sanity, so you can spend the rest of the week saying, please just listen to my show and stop asking me my opinion and I have to wait for Monday for it.
Yes, that sounds good. That sounds lovely. So the big other topic to kind of put a cap on this balance update discussion, what do you think about no change to Li-Ming?
So for me, I think it's great. And I think everyone needs to take the time to learn how to counter her. And I spent a lot of time doing that, and they were all losses. I mean, I avoided posting any screenshots on Twitter or anything, but I had some red there in a big old line, dominated the entire box as I tried to figure out how to counter Li-Ming.
Yeah. Now, Spherian got on the horn and made an official statement about the fact that there is no Li-Ming change this week and said that they do agree that she's a little too strong right now and that there are adjustments that they want to make, but they want to make sure that those changes are going to be healthy for the game. He also said, quote, "We're currently looking to adjust several talents, including Astral Presence and SF Johan, but we haven't finalized these changes just yet." So that's the official word on why there have not been any Li-Ming changes. Definitely sounds like they're still happening. They're just not ready.
Yep. And it's a complex situation. You got to have that trade. We talked about it a lot this episode, but we're trying to trade that low health for high damage, and the range is too big.
Yeah. Well, Kyle, now it's time for our favorite time of the week. Dustin Browder tweets.
Right. I could be wrong.
Team is looking to SF Johan, also according to Dustin Browder. Just tack that on to the end of experience discussion there.
Not only that was tweeted Thursday night right after we wrapped up the show. So 2 days later after her release, they're already like, yep, this is an issue.
Yeah. Also, when asked about more heroes coming down the pipeline that have a higher skill cap, a la Li-Ming, Dustin Browder said, yes, there will be more. So that's exciting. I really like Li-Ming, man. I want more heroes like that. Not like I don't want another mage, but
Sure.
but I want another hero that's like that.
And we don't know what Zool is going to look like when he gets here, and he could be the poster child for the new specialist. That's what I'm hoping. It's a lot to put on him.
It is. Specialists are in a weird place right now, unless you're Zagara on Tomb of the Spider Queen.
Right, and then you have great damage that you can contribute regardless of the situation. You have sight that no one else can provide to that level.
And you land sick Maws.
Exactly. Game-changing things that don't feel as punishing as just getting blown up. When you end up in a maw, you go, oh, I messed up, everybody. Sorry. And then the Banelinks come in. And it's kind of an art. And the fact that everyone pulled it off makes it feel good.
And there can be an art to surviving it if not everyone got in, because then your support may be on the line. It's like, no, I got you, man. I got a protective shield. I got a cleanse. Let's do this. As soon as you come out, bam, and then you're out. Now if your whole team gets mod or something, people get. But yeah, there's a cause and effect, and there's a time for reaction to that. Whereas just being deleted is, well, it's just being deleted.
Yeah.
Dustin said that the devs have a playable ban system. I would get excited, but I don't want to get too excited.
It's playable, though.
Bring it on.
That's good.
Just bring it on. Just bring it on. And then finally, Garden Terror is fixable, according to Dustin Browder. And Mines still needs a rework if it's going to be brought back in. This is specifically in response to a tweet that said, I want Dustin Browder to see this specific part of this graph. Seriously, why Mines over Terror? And this is the survey that you referenced minutes ago on the show that showed that everyone is in agreement that they hate Garden of Terror. We all hate it. Every single one of us hates. Oh, I didn't even notice. This was Time Lord HS, Tony M on Twitter. He tweets at us all the time.
Oh, sick.
I didn't even notice this was his tweet. And he was replying to Patrick Beja. And it got Dustin Browder. That's amazing. We went down
this is like
a podcast inception hole.
Yeah,
just happened. I didn't even notice.
Nice.
This is amazing. I missed this earlier when I was buzzing through this. And Dustin Browder said, we feel like we can fix Gardens to make it better. Mines needs more system alterations. Team is looking at Garden.
In particular, the stat we're looking at is what is your favorite map? And with a whopping 2%, Garden Terror is 2% of people's favorite map.
Yeah. And again, this is a survey, mostly Reddit, but still, like,
exactly.
To you and me, we're sitting here with this is exactly pretty much how we feel about things. This isn't helping our personal opinions that we would love to ban out Garden Terror.
No, and for us, it's not a fun mechanic at our level. And in other people's games, it could continue to be in Bronze. And I've seen some Bronze replays. Like, they're really cool, almost Godzilla monster matches happening in the middle as these two terrorists meet and the whole team gathers around them and there's this fight going on. It's like, whoop, watch out for the polymorph. No one knows how to watch out for it. It's a great fight. Yeah. In our leagues, though, it comes down to chase the Garden Terror. Watch out for the potted plant. You got to chase him, but you got to kill that first, and that's just a frustrating situation to be in.
I don't think I've asked this or we've answered this question in a while, so I'll just ask you now. What is your favorite map, Kyle?
My favorite map? I think it's Towers of Doom right now.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I really like it.
Okay. Definitely not there with you. but
it's fresh and new. I mean, if it's, serious, let's throw down time, it's Cursed Hollow every time.
okay, yeah, that's still my go-to.
I think Tomb of the Spider Queen is getting really low on my list right now because people are unwilling to adapt to what the objective changes. And it's Don't Die is the story of Tomb of the Spider Queen. And if you do die, you pick up their gems. And I'm just seeing so many team fights day in and day out of there in Tomb of the Spider Queen where people just want to fight. And yeah, fighting's fun, but those gems win the game.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. Although I really like Tomb of the Spider Queen. That's probably my second favorite map. I really like it. But I'm also a Zagara player.
And Red agree. Yeah, as a Zagara player too. That's where you shine and everyone's like, "Oh, great creep Zagara," and you're like, "Yeah, I know. I'm amazing."
Puny mortal.
But I'm also just a spatial player. So when it comes down to things like creating zones and guarding my team, Towers of Doom has just really cool mechanics and flavor.
Yep. Well, before we move into strategy, let's thank our patrons over at patreon.com/ITN for supporting the show. Guys, we really do appreciate it. You're the best bosses I know the two of us have ever had. I've had some pretty crappy bosses, guys. Just saying. Especially lately. Oh my God, let me tell you about the job I just left. Actually, I can tell you all about it on the Angry Nerd if you want to go listen to the most recent 2 episodes.
Oh, nice plug.
Yeah, like that. Didn't mean to do that. Just popped into my head. But yeah, if you like Into the Nexus, if you like what Kyle and I are doing, you can head on over to patreon.com/ITN right now and support the show. This episode, I want to thank Joe B, Justin S, Dave V, Tony S, and Jeremy L. Thank you guys so very, very much for supporting Into the Nexus. It is very much appreciated and helps probably more than you realize.
Yeah, it's exactly true what you said. They are our bosses. We got to cut advertisement in the show. We get to spend more time during our week crafting the show rather than reacting live to the news here. And that's awesome that we can continue to increase our quality, not only the sound quality and everything else, but the quality of the entertainment.
Yeah, look at this sick green screen.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
Moving into the future.
Oh, I just noticed if I point, you can see like a green core in the shadow of my thumb. Because you can see all the green light being bounced around the room.
Little 3D movie magic there.
Yeah, except it's not 3D, so.
With time.
Exactly.
Patreon.com.
On towards to strategy.
Choose a talent.
Choose a talent.
Talent? Ah, that seems generous.
Don't reveal our plans to our foes. I mean it. Not a word.
Exactly. Listen to Johanna. Because if Johanna's on your team, chances are it's me. What I'm trying to say is listen to me.
Good advice.
So today's strategy segment, it will be titled Laning and You. And it's because of an email from Yokai, who wrote, "Hey team, question about maps and their opening strategies with a generic hero composition, i.e. no Abathur, Lost Vikings, or Cho'Gall, specifically Blackheart's Bay and the opening split. I've played with folks that tell me the correct opening split is 2 top, 1 mid, 2 bot. Played with other folks that tell me 3 top, 1 mid, 1 bot. If the early game objective is to get the first 2 chests that spawn at 50 seconds, how come a split of 1 top, 2 mid, 2 bot isn't considered? How do y'all do the opening split on the other maps? Sky Temple, 2 top, 2 mid, 1 bot? Towers, yes, by the way. Towers of Doom, 1 top, 3 mid, 1 bot? How come? Thanks, love the show." And this is actually a question we get asked about a lot, which is why, in case you're wondering, why are we on episode 90 and we're talking about laning? This is why.
Well, and there's no better time to talk about this than this week. As we talked about here, XP leads are winning games right now, and losing Soak is losing people a lot of games right now. So we're not going to sit here and tell you the 2-1-2 across every single map. That's silly to do. What's more important is, do you have your lanes covered effectively for the heroes you have? And let's start with Johanna, probably the most obvious one. Johanna can take Knight Takes Pawn, which does increased damage and stun to lane minions. Guess who also can break out of any CC and just walk right out of it? Who has a great health boost for surviving anything that comes in her way? Who has blinds and a slow and all the sort of kit you would want to leave her alone with? Johanna. So if you have a Johanna on her team, she goes in the solo lane because she's 100% safe and will farm efficiently.
There are games, though. What do you do, Kyle, when you have a Johanna and a Zagara? Because they could both solo lane pretty damn well by themselves. What do you do with
Great.
the? You just stack a 3-stack somewhere. Depending on your comp, do you send someone to roam?
And that's what I like to do. I like roaming characters.
I do too.
And mainly these characters can be people who are already working together. Maybe they're comping together real well, like the old Tyrande Diablo, or they happen to be in voice chat and they holler that they're going to roam together. And I say, great, do it. If that's your plan, go for it.
Also, thank you for informing us, not just doing it.
Yes, that is nice too. Because nothing's more frustrating than being that Zeratul or Nova left in lane. And you're like, guys, can someone cover this for me here?
Yes, I have been there. I also hate being the support where that happens too, and then someone engages in teamfight. It's like, I really want to go. I want to go help, but we're level behind. And anyways, back to laning.
So let's talk about a brief moment here about the history that is being forced on new players like Yokai here. The 2-1-2 strat is from other MOBAs. It is in a world where the laning phase lasts 15 to 30 minutes. And this is just how it would go out. The middle character was your carry for the most part. They were going to be in lane together. They would get all the XP that they were in range for, only for them, become a powerhouse, and then would visit the other two lanes to get ganks off. Now, this visitation was extremely long because the maps were huge. It's one of the reasons why, someone in Heroes of the Storm will be like, guys, you never called missing. I'm getting killed down here. And I'm like, that's your fault. In another MOBA, that's our fault as a team. We should have hollered that someone was missing. In Heroes of the Storm, the maps are tiny and the games are quick, which means people get across tiny maps really quickly.
So you should always be darting your eye to the bottom mini-map for that reason.
Exactly. Getting caught off guard was your fault. And it was your job to hang out in tower range and play safe when you discovered that someone was missing.
Still happens to me.
It's going to happen.
It's a bad habit I have.
We all have, blinders at certain things.
I blame Dota.
You blame Dota?
I blame Dota.
Because other people took care of you in those situations?
I got so used to people calling missing and stuff like that.
Yeah, and to not call missing is a tauntable offense. And you'll be dogged by your entire team, and rightfully so, on those games.
Plus, if you got anywhere near your tower, no one was coming near you.
Exactly. Those things were juggernauts.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
which, by the way, a good point to bring up. A lot of the historical MOBA references that you will be making reference to in this discussion, mostly we're talking about Dota here. It's the one Kyle and I have the most experience
League of Legends
with.
isn't so different, but Dota, of course, sort of refined the system for me, what I was used to through my MOBA history. So that's why we're stuck in it. I'd love to get into League of Legends, actually. Like, I want to speak that language, but the rune system that they have is a barrier for me. And I don't want to invest that time.
Likewise.
It's a shame.
Chat room, I'm with you. I wouldn't mind a missing ping.
That's a great idea.
Because pinging, yeah, it's kind of amazing in Heroes. Everyone pings. Which is kind of it's an assumed skill of the game. Everyone's just kind of knows about the ping radial menu now, and everyone uses it. And I think, to the most part, they use it really well. Not to mention, last patch, you can't spam it as many times, so it's not nearly as annoying as it used to be. I'd love a missing ping. That'd be great.
Yeah, it'd be a great way and people who are really on top of this, taking the game seriously, say things like, a warning ping on the Nova whenever I see the shimmer, and you have this constant ping storyline as that stealthy moves across the 3 lanes. And it is a wonderful tool, and people who do that are amazing. And I call missing too, but more often than not, it's later in the game, and I'll say missing, care, they're rezzing. They're all preemptive suggestions that are telling that top lane, whoever they are, they're out too far for the current state of the map.
Yeah.
So, effective laning. If you put your solo characters in their solo lanes, the big ones, you already mentioned Zagara. Of course, Johanna is one of the other ones. Other people can pull it off safely. I mean, characters like Gazlo can get out there and set up a pretty nice zone and those sort of things. But for the most part, those are going to be the two you run into constantly, who should just sort of be given the lane from the get-go.
Yeah.
When it comes to setting up your other lanes, you ideally want to put the melee assassin with the healer, and the ranged guys out on themselves. They're going to be safer, of course. Something I would love to see in Heroes is the willingness to change lanes as the game progresses.
Yeah, it's something I don't see mentioned enough. And when I do see it mentioned, more times than not, when somebody in chat will say, "Hey, can X come top, Y go bottom?" It's met with resistance
because it's so short. It's like on Cursed Hollow. Let's say I get in lane and I am Thrall, a great character, right? I didn't draft poorly, but I end up against a Zagara who is just pushing me back constantly. And if I holler, "Guys, I need help in this lane," most people will not respond because it's just going to change. That bell's going to ring for the objective, and we're all going to go to it, and I can easily just go to a different lane once that's over. Will people respond to what I've done? Sometimes not. That lane that I was previously in is just left, and Zagara goes nuts through it. But usually someone will pick it up, and if you talked about it earlier before deaths, people are willing to adjust to your style of play. But now when we are in the current game system where level leads are so ridiculously important and powerful, these things need to be met with trust and efficiency. And this is where characters like Falstad, who is getting lots of weird little buffs right now, are going to really shine. He can fly across the map. He can be many places, and not in a ganking sort of like Zeratul Nova already around a bit, maybe we can get a kill here kind of thing. Falstad can join a lane and then retreat from it. Brightwing is another very powerful character who has just been given a little bit of extra damage in the laning phase that could cover that role.
Right. Although, again, Brightwing needs someone to be there to go there.
Right, exactly. So hopefully we're helping someone out. It's not a full-on trade, of course.
Right, absolutely. I really like Falstad for this. And confused ETC with Moshpit.
So
That's a joke.
Let's remove all the other maps from our minds and just think about Tomb of the Spider Queen. Because there's a map where staying in lane is basically the name of the game. And if you are met with a bad situation across from you, you should change. You should holler for help. Say, I can't take this person. Don't die. That's not going to prove your point.
That's a rule you should just keep in the back of your head always. Don't die to prove a point. But yeah, no. Any of these situations when you're in a bad laning phase, you're going to be giving up XP because they're going to outpush you. They're going to start damaging the wall. Eventually, they're going to get towers down. But in the case of something like Spider Queen, if you cannot contest the hero across from you, you're also not going to be picking up gems. You're going to be missing out on gems. God forbid you're a hero that has Conjurer's Pursuit. You're going to be missing out on health orbs.
Great point.
You are going to gimp yourself for the talents that you chose in the case of Conjurer's Pursuit, and you're going to gimp your entire team in terms of the objective of the map that you are on. No, you shouldn't dive a wall for gems. They're not that important, but you shouldn't be missing out on one gem out of every single wave of spiders. Definitely should be missing out on 2 or 3 gems out of every wave of spiders.
Well, and think of people like Uther who have straight up mana issues, and the only pick to deal with that at level 1 is the Conjuring Pursuit. So let's talk about your earlier situation you mentioned where you end up in a team with Johanna and Zagara. Guess what Uther can now do? He can roam for orbs. And that's a very cool tool that you can give yourself based on how your comp pulled together.
Yeah. If you lane right, you free up other heroes. Everyone kind of shines. Everyone gets to do what they should be doing. They get to strengthen themselves. They get to get that orb, whatever it is that they need to be doing. So I'm with you. I didn't even think about this when you pitched this today, but this is something I've been noticing a lot lately. Because I'll ask, it's like, guys, I'm in a really bad matchup up here. Maybe X should come up here and I'll go down there.
Right, or can I get a gank in this particular lane just to remove some of the momentum, get me back on the map, and clear out some of this creep? Those are good things to ask for, but they don't happen in Heroes of the Storm, and it's really odd. But on the flip side, let's go to those other MOBAs for a second, and it was Pokemon Town, and it was real bad Pokemon Town sometimes. You'd be like, guys, I can't take this guy, and the obvious counter to the hero you were facing would go, cool, I'm on my way. He'd get up there, you'd take his lane. Then the enemy team would go, oh, well, I can't counter that. And then you take their lane, and the first 15 minutes, everyone's just swapping lanes. Nothing's getting done. It's like, oh, I see your fire Pokemon, I'll get my water Pokemon. Oh, I see your water Pokemon, I'll get my electric Pokemon. And you never have fun.
But, we all watch pro games. That's kind of what they look like, except things are getting done. But there is so much lane switching going on. That is something that I noticed because we talk frequently about how the cool thing about esports is you'll watch a professional game and then you can go play in exactly the same conditions that they just played in, and that something like Heroes, that the difference between an average player and the pro, it's not as extreme as something like StarCraft. But one of the starkest differences I notice in esports is lane movement in a pro game versus solo queuing into Hero League by myself.
And a lot of that isn't the strategy we're discussing right now. It even goes further than that, which is super cool and something that mainly seasoned marksman assassins need to notice in themselves. When you win the fight as Falstad, you leave. You're done. Job finished. Go up top. Farm. In the early game, that is, of course. It's level 20, blah, 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 You win the game, right? But if this is the first team fight, the very first objective, and it is done. There is no need for you to flit around in circles to create a zone or protect anything because the tank is there, the healer's there, everyone else is there. Good. You are back in lane, farming your seasoned marksman. And same with Raynor and anyone else who takes that talent.
Yeah. So, do you have a way to boil this? Can we put a bow on this for Yokai before we end?
Right. So he's right in assuming the acceptable laning basics are 2, 1 in the middle, and then 2 in the bottom. He mentions here Blackheart's Bay. That is insane sounding to me that anyone would say 2 in the top, 1 in the middle, because that is a very particular map where we all sort of just go 4 in the sort of top and 1 in the bottom.
Right, is the general thing. The other thing to keep in mind, there's heroes like Lost Vikings that completely throw a monkey wrench into any laning plan you previously had. But it's a good monkey wrench. It's a monkey wrench that makes whatever it was just thrown into work better.
So there is no happy little bow, because this is a conversation that has some interesting tidbits, but is really built out of experience. So on your 2-lane maps, you basically want to push whichever lane that is not defended, and then you put the defender on the bottom. So, let's say in that Battlefield of Eternity, 4 in the top, Zagar in the bottom. She's going to be safe, and we can trade things out later. There's a lot that goes into this.
Yeah. And then after the first Immortal in Battlefield of Eternity, people start swapping lanes a lot. That's actually a battleground where you're kind of forced into swapping lanes. Because once the
despite
Immortal,
that very large area in the middle, we still get it done.
Right. Well, because once the first Immortal pops and starts pushing a lane and damages a lane, all of a sudden now there's a lane that must be defended and roles switch each time an Immortal pops. So, but yeah, hopefully this discussion was useful for you, Yokai. Sorry for not giving you specifics, which you could probably go through battleground by battleground and come up with a basic rule of thumb. But the truth is that depending on your comp and your enemy's comp, it's going to change.
Well said.
So.
And more importantly, it should change.
Yes. It's you shouldn't look at it as a negative. You should look at it, this is the way the game is played. This is how you should accept it so that you're going in with the right mindset.
Correct.
So thanks for the email, Yokai. That when Kyle was like, "Hey man, I want to talk about laning today," I'm just like, "Are you sure? Are you sure this is gonna be an interesting conversation?"
The game has been out for a bit.
It's been out this is episode 90, not episode 9, Kyle. But worked out. Thanks for that, Yokai. It's spawned a very good conversation that I'm glad we had. Now, let's round this episode out with an email or two.
Darkness stopped calling.
I hear the wilds call. Wait, nature calls.
Okay, tell them I'm not here.
You can send your emails to itncast@gmail.com. We're just going to take one today. Had a bit of a long show already, with the patch notes, and we took an email and strategy, so we're still getting 2 into this episode.
Yeah, your plural is still just.
Your what?
Plural.
Plural is still just. Okay, fair enough. Someone could get technical about using it right now because we're about to take one. But anyway.
You can get technical about everything in life.
You're very true, but Kyle, we exist on the internet where the number one rule is get technical.
Yeah, that's true.
Place one finger in the air and say, but, and then move on with whatever it is you were about to say. That is internet conduct. Again, emails itncast@gmail.com. Send them there. Aaron wrote in and said, "Howdy, Nexus Warriors. As I am a big fan of Heroes of the Storm, I'm incredibly jealous of the progression system that's been implemented in the Overwatch beta. Getting nice and topical. Overwatch beta came back this week. I'm enjoying it. Kyle, you and I had a great time streaming it yesterday.
Boy, I don't have the skill set.
By the way,
I hope I didn't embarrass myself yesterday.
Everyone should go to youtube.com/AMoveTV tomorrow as the VOD of our 2.5-hour marathon session of playing Overwatch with Willie Dills Gregory, Jocelyn Moffat, Scott Johnson, and Patrick Beja will be up on the AMove TV YouTube tomorrow if you missed it. So go check that out. Anyway, Aaron continues. He says he's basically jealous of the progression system. He said that, I get that Blizzard is saying Overwatch players can have some free cosmetic progression because they've all spent $40 or $60 just to get in the door, but I'd venture to guess that plenty of us Heroes of the Storm players have spent plenty more. Shouldn't we get some free cosmetic progression too? May your queue times be short and your kill streaks long. Signed, Aaron. He also mentioned that he wrote about this very topic on his blog, which can be found at special-move.com. So go check that out. There's a link to it in the show notes, amove.tv/ITN. Look for the episode 90 post. Well, Aaron, it's not just because you spent money on a box product that the progression system is designed this way in Overwatch. They actually mention that they have tried a more heroes-oriented progression system while developing Overwatch, where you had to play certain heroes, you had to play specific heroes to unlock things, stuff, cosmetic rewards for that specific hero. And the thing with Overwatch is you can switch heroes mid-game. In fact, you are meant to. They expect you to. It's built into the strategy of the game, the overarching flow of the battle, that your team's composition and your enemy's team composition can completely change at the drop of a hat or at the drop of their body hitting the floor because they just died. And you're expected to counter that. And Heroes of the Storm, you lock into your hero and you're stuck with that hero for the whole game. They were noticing...
Until some sort of new exciting system comes along, which that'd be fun to play.
I'd be interested, but not
every time you die, you have to pick a new hero.
You have to? I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't want a competitive mode of that. Bring it in, make it fun, cool.
Sure, arena, whatever.
Works for Overwatch. I'm not sure it works for Heroes. Anyway, they noticed in testing that when they incentivized you to play one hero, that people were less inclined to switch to a different hero when they should. So maybe your buddy shouldn't be playing Bastion right now, but he just needs 100 more experience to get that sweet new bird on his shoulder. So it actually affects the gameplay in Overwatch, which I never thought of until I heard about that when they were talking about it. The other thing to mention too, is that there are free cosmetic rewards in Heroes of the Storm, in skin tints for your hero and for your mount. And honestly, I don't know if you look through all of the skins in Overwatch, some of them are just tint changes, just like Heroes of the Storm.
Right. They're not all big dramatic changes.
Right. Some of them are. Have you seen that legendary Reinhardt skin where he's got like a mouth in the middle of his armor?
Oh, well, that's the best one, in my opinion, of all the upgrades.
It's amazing. It's so great.
That and the unlockable scene where Junkrat hits himself in the balls.
I prefer Torbjorn riding his turret like a rodeo bull.
That stuff is all extremely cool. It's very easy to be jealous of the brand new spanking engine that Overwatch has been built in, when we feel like we are constantly hearing the devs talk about how they're limited by StarCraft's engine.
Yeah. You know what else
helps each other out a lot.
You know what else is also strange? Overwatch runs better on my system than Heroes, and I don't know why.
No, and that's a fascinating thing. Like, I mean, we were streaming Alien Isolation, which is a beautiful, beautiful game off this computer. But Heroes, I have to make a couple of CPU cuts in order to stream at a good quality.
Yeah, I just don't think it's as efficient for some reason.
Something's going on there.
I don't know. I don't know what's happening there. But I'm definitely with you that I would love more free rewards in Heroes. Not necessarily like just given to me, something I can earn. But I wouldn't mind it.
Well, those things aren't easy to get. I mean, sure, right now the levels flow easy and the caches are rather addictive to open. But I foresee a day when it slows down, and I foresee a day when we're still just getting a whole bunch of wisps in our packs.
Oh, right. So you're getting duplicate rewards in Overwatch.
Right, and then you get the little bit of cash. But I mean, right now I'm sitting on 1 duplicate, which is 5 space monies.
Right, because that's the thing. The higher you get 1 loot crate every time you level up, and the higher level you are, the slower it's going to be for you to level up. So those loot crates it's going to become a drought at a certain point in Overwatch. So that is also something to keep in mind. I didn't even think about that. Whereas in Heroes, as long as you're not on a hero that you've already unlocked all of the skin tints for, you can in theory always pick up a new hero and start working on the progression for that hero, and it won't take any slower than any hero you played before it.
Well, and let's be real here. I mean, it is new. It's so shiny. It's beautiful. Oh my God. I was in the previous beta, but I didn't have a computer running. Oh my God, what a beautiful game. I wonder how, WoW people feel. They're paying $15 a month, and Heroes has more frequent releases. So sure, I'm going to, cough up $40-$60 for Overwatch, and I've spent more on Heroes, but Heroes keeps on flowing with content.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm paying for.
Yeah, indeed. Well,
and it is a much better quality and quantity than World of Warcraft can provide.
Oh, yeah. Oh, don't remind me, man. I'm so excited for Legion, but I wish there was more coming in between so bad. What a reason.
Yeah, and I'm having a great time with Kristen leveling our alts, which will become our mains come Legion. It's been a blast, 2-manning all the dungeons, but we've made up our own toys. I mean, we've done all the pre-builds of our Legos, and now we've taken all the kits apart, and we've tried to see if we can put the dragon on the castle.
See, I'm just going to boost the Death Knight and go.
So there you go.
I was considering boosting a Demon Hunter, and then I found out that they're ready to just go once you finish the starting zone. So I'm like, oh, okay. Starting a Death Knight. Here we go. But anyways, thanks for the email, Aaron. Let's play Overwatch sometime.
Yeah,
now I just want to go play Overwatch. Should have ended with a specifically Heroes email.
Oh no.
Note for the future. Thanks again. Again, everyone, you can send your emails to itncast@gmail.com. That's going to do it for this episode. Thanks again to our patrons over at patreon.com/ITN for supporting this show. We do a call-in episode every month. We do a coaching episode every month, and that's all because of our patrons. Thank you, guys. Also, keep those iTunes reviews coming. If you listen to this podcast on iTunes, we love the 5-star iTunes reviews. Helps the show out a lot. On this episode, we wanted to thank Mr. Matthew, 82, Office Line Baker, KT with just a jumble of numbers after their name, who said, "My life was in ruins. I'd lost my job, my house, and my wife. Then I listened to ITN and everything turned around. Now I've won the lotto, started my own cricket farm, and entered a spiritual union with my real doll. Thanks, guys."
Well, congratulations, man.
Dude, you win all the internets. That's the best freaking review I have read in a while. Sorry for the reference to Real Doll, everyone. I just couldn't help myself. It was hilarious.
I mean, the man's doing great,
Yeah.
Can't blame him.
Clearly turned it around. Also, thank you, Millie_79. Sorry, your review wasn't as dramatic.
Not to be overshadowed.
Not to be overshadowed, but yeah, it just was not as dramatic as KT number smash on keyboard. Anywho, that'll do it. Into the Nexus is produced by emove.tv and our Patreon producers Declan H and Cheesy Bob. Get our coffee mugs and glasses over at bit.ly/amovestore. Catch us live Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern right here on twitch.tv/amovetv. Thanks to alphageekradio.com for our mobile live stream where you can catch the show live on virtually any device. And follow us on Twitter, ITNcast on Twitter. We're on Facebook at eMoveTV. We're on Reddit at itnpodcast.reddit.com. And finally, check out BrianGriffithMusic.com because he made our intro music. He is a baller who also may have DJ'd my wedding. Just an all-around great guy, so thank him for that. Kyle, where can folks find you?
You can find me over on Twitter at Kyle Ferguson. Basically everything Kyle Ferguson. YouTube, Twitter, Patreon now. For my solo Q&A show, the Patreon is up, and we're making some schedule changes that you may have heard about. Mentioned them slightly in the show there. Tuesdays at 3 o'clock, directly following the Angry Chicken, will be the Teaching Tuesday stream. That's where we're going to do new heroes when they come out, because those come out on Tuesdays. That's where we're going to do the replay analysis now, if we don't have a hero, and where we'll do some other interesting sort of learning things on Tuesdays at 3 o'clock. Then on Wednesdays at 3 o'clock will be the regular scheduled, as you know it, Heroes League solo Q&A, where we dive in, take advantage of whatever that new patch is that comes out on Wednesdays, talk about it, and get that going over there. So check out the new Patreon for solo Q&A. It was asked for. Looking forward to it and expanding that show. I started that in May of last year, and I can't believe it's already been that long.
Yeah, you've been doing well, man. It's a show I constantly hear compliments about.
Oh, well, thank you.
So, yeah. I started up another show, or started back up a show this week, or last week, The Angry Nerd. I mentioned it earlier. So go check that out if you want to see another show by me. Really personal, just me talking to myself about stuff and things and reading emails from you guys that send them in. And I launched a Patreon for that show. So thank you, everyone, supporting me over there. Follow me on Twitter at GarrettArt. And just check out, you know where everything else is, amove.tv.
Yeah.
Check out doghousesystems.com. Everyone, use the code ITN. You'll get a 120 gigabyte solid state drive added onto your rig. I love my doghouse. I love it so much. It's a wonderful, wonderful computer. I mentioned Heroes is chugging a little bit, so I'm just gonna slap a new video card in it. It's 3 years old now, I think. Everything else is fine. Processor's fine. Power supply. I could probably put 4 video cards in this thing and still not overload it, because I may have gone a little overboard when I ordered this thing. But I love it to pieces, so check out doghousesystems.com. Use the code ITN at checkout. You can also use the code ITN over at tweakedaudio.com to get 30% off and free shipping off of your entire order of noise-reducing earbuds. We thank them for their support. We thank you all for listening. And we'll see our patrons in the after-show games, so stick around, guys. But for the rest of you, we'll see you next week for episode 91 as we journey forward to episode 100. Good luck and have fun.
Take care.